welcome to the show. Welcome to the Idea2Launch show. My name is Lisa Zufall. I will be your host, and today I have a super special guest. She is a friend. She is a confidence expert. She's a speaker, and she's an author. And what's really, really cool about her coming on is her book is launching, her new book. And so she's on to talk to us about that, and she's on here just to share her wisdom because that's how cool she is. Her name is Leta Greene, and she is Mrs. Hotness. And welcome, Leta. I'm so happy you're here.
I am thrilled to be asked. You know I adore you, Lisa.
I think you're awesome. I mean, ever since the first day that we met, right? And I felt like I already knew you.
Well, you did, because you stalked me online. Should we tell them that funny story?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell your part.
Like, your website's really great. And I said, and I did not knowing what you did. Remember this? And I was like, really? And you're like, well, the content's good. And a few months later, who am I hiring to redo my website?
And
Lisa.
You know what? Your website is rockin' awesome. It is rockin' awesome.
Now I can give it out without any embarrassment. I'm like, boom, there you go.
It is true hotness, all in its glory. I love it.
Thank you.
But your old website, the content that you had in there was beautiful because it really gave an insight as to who you are with your humor and your caring about others. I mean, it's just who you are. And I think that's why I felt like a connection to you right away, because I thought not only is she funny, but she has this, I don't know, an ability to connect with people and lift them up. And I think that is just super cool.
Well, classic Lisa, looking for the good. Thank you. It was circa 2010, so I'm very thankful to have a done by Lisa Zufall website that's amazing.
It's awesome. Oh, you sang. Okay, so for all the listeners, it's so funny. Yeah. So when Leta does her live Facebooks, every time she sings, when I catch them, I automatically will do lots of thumbs ups or hearts. Because my favorite part is when she gets super excited, she starts singing. So we'll see how many times we can get her to sing during this interview. No pressure, though. So your first book was How to Embrace Your Inner Hotness, the Inside Out.
I even have it right here. Right here.
I can't see you, but that is an awesome looking book.
Yeah.
The Inside Out Approach to a Lasting Makeover.
Yep.
What does that mean? Does that mean that we look like Kenny Rogers when we're done, or what are you talking about here?
Well, that might not help it sell well. It's my first book was a self-published book. I've been a makeup artist, image consultant for over 20 years now. Yeah. And whenever you're making someone over, if you're not addressing the inner stuff, you're just helping them put their mask on thicker. Right. To cover up their insecurities. Right. So I wrote this book, and it's been awesome how well received it's been, and very gratifying. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write like a girl empowerment series leading, to for younger tweens. Yep. And then the surprise of the book that is coming out like in a few days. Like,
isn't the pre-launch tomorrow?
No, the pre-launch I'm announcing today.
Oh, yay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I have a beautiful website. I can.
And it's all ready to go.
Yes. So I'm launching it actually in the pre-order today. Awesome. But the actual book is being printed right now.
So exciting. Well, let's take it back a minute, because when I first saw you speak, you were talking about how you were growing up, or it could be one of the videos that I saw on your website. You know what? At this point, I'm not sure, because I've delved into the full Leta world. Yeah. So you were explaining at one point when you were a teenager and you came home and you laid in your bed and you just started crying, and that was a turning point, because suddenly you started talking nicely to yourself. Did I get that right?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I'd gone to school that day at a brand new school, and I'm insecure. I do not have it all together, right? Like a typical teenager. Yep. Come to find out that my name is a pun. My name before I got married last name was Mon, so my name was Lead 'em on. Yeah. As in lead them on. So I was pretty devastated to have all the things that a normal teenager deals with, plus other things, plus being named a pun. So I started telling God how much he'd screwed up. And he told me a different idea of how I could look at that, and how I need to practice a new way of thinking of myself. And in practicing a new way of thinking of myself, we've heard of affirmations, mantras, and
Right.
this was given to me at 15. I'd never even heard of what an affirmation was. And I don't think in 1985 that was like a big
I don't think
movement.
anybody talked. Well, no, was Stuart Smalley out in 1985?
I don't know, but he had not reached me in Blanding, Utah. So,
Go ahead.
Socrates said there are no new ideas under the sun, so
Right.
other people have had the idea, but to me, at 15, a truck driver's daughter and a mom who was in college to be a
Yeah.
teacher, this is not something that had come into my world. And so it was pretty crazy, pretty out there, but I started thinking this affirmation, this prayer that was given to me, that everyone in this room loves me. And now I joke that if you don't like me, I'm like, whoa, what's wrong with you? I'm adorable.
And it worked, because as soon as you walked in the door, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you.
Right? So, we get in life what we put out there.
Yep.
And we treat others how to treat us. We teach others how to treat us.
Yep.
And so my first book is the mental efforts and steps and patterns that you need to create in your own life, telling my story of going from feeling rejected and to feeling, where I go around calling myself hotness. And, just in case anyone can't tell, I am a normal figured woman. I'm not, a size 2. I'm a normal. I've had babies, all of that kind of thing, but that does not define me. It's who I am inside.
Right.
And that reflects on the outside, that I come off much better looking than I may actually be, because I am choosing to project confidence and happiness and not letting my waistline define me.
Yep. I love that. And so you do a lot of speaking to young girls to help them with that, because in our culture right now, the Kardashian culture or the Kylie Jenner culture, whatever you want to call it, it's all about the waistline, right? And I mean, you can watch hours.
Buying the next beauty product, buying the next outfit, buying the next thing that will make us likable.
Right.
When nobody can validate us into liking ourselves.
Right. And so your first book talks people through, it could be man or a woman, about self-confidence.
I wrote it to girls and women because, of course, that's been my expertise as a makeup artist for over 20 years, of coaching women through when they're like, oh, I look terrible. It's like, no. Coaching them through that process of seeing their inner beauty reflect on their outward beauty.
Right.
I speak to mostly women's conferences, entrepreneurial groups, but I admit that the teenagers, the young kids if I can get them when they're young and give them these principles of truth and resiliency and confidence, that's a good day.
Yeah. And I think it's sorely needed out here in America.
It's needed everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to speak some internationally, and it's a message that all women and men, but we women do it in our own little way. That's a little different. Everybody needs it. And I think that it's, symptomatic of the fact that we have so much abundance in our world today that we get to focus on all the ancillary things that don't really define us, but we think they do.
Right. Yeah. It's true. So then we switch over to the book that's coming out today.
Okay.
For pre-launch, right? This is kind of a jump, but it's not really a jump, because I wanted people to understand the hotness and how that came about, right? The 15-year-old girl who's insecure and all these things going on, and she's finding her voice. But this is the woman who found her voice for something that happened a long time ago. And it's, again, the pure Leta to lift others up and show that there is a way, right?
Well, thank you. Well, what happened is we've all been seeing the Me Too movement. And I remember the first time I saw a Me Too post, I was like, good, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm glad that we're bringing, the fact that sexual abuse, assault, all these kinds of things are rampant in our society. I'm glad we're talking about it more, because if we talk about it more, then there won't be as much shame around it.
Right.
And then pretty soon you see that shift to a lot of anger, and even some people that were leaders of the Me Too movement, they themselves have paid off people that they sexually harassed. And,
Right.
that just came out a little while ago. I mean, it's just all kinds of sticky and anger and not trying to speak out on the topic per se, but just sharing my own experience and what I would tell my 14-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
What I would tell her. I would not tell her that she is damaged and ruined. In fact, I would tell her that she's going to have more empathy. She's going to have more love in her life, that she's going to have all the good things in life plus, because she has overcome something dark and ugly, and we're going to call it what it is, evil.
Yep.
Because she's overcome that, there has to be the yin and the yang, the opposite in all things. And for the darkness that we are exposed to, we also can be exposed to the light of that. So I wrote this post on Facebook, which if you follow me on Facebook, I do pontificate a lot about a lot of things. So there was nothing in my mind that went, oh, this is going to go crazy. There was nothing like that.
Right.
And it did go really crazy, tons and tons. I mean,
yeah, I remember the video. I saw the video and I started crying with you.
And within 12 hours of the original posting, I had a book deal. And now I can see that I joke that I was drafted into this movement by God, because it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, I need to state this. I just kind of thought we were all on the same page on this.
Yeah.
That we can overcome and become better, and that we are not defined by the events of our lives. I mean, is that, that to me was something that I knew that. Right. And yet we're seeing the opposite message being sent to those that are victims and survivors, that you are defined by that. Yep. And why would you give someone who chose to violate you in such a horrid way that kind of power over your future?
Right. So
we wrote the book, Love Me Too. And I still am like, I can't believe that I shared all the things that I shared in this book. I call it my vulnerable underbits are being shared. Yeah. But I'm really proud of it. And the beta readers have read it and love it and already promoting it. There's book ambassadors that got an electronic version, and the messages that I'm already getting from people, it is just, it just stop and go, wow. And how much this is going to help people. And it's a easy read. Yep. It's not graphic. I would not be uncomfortable having a 12-year-old girl read this. Awesome. Or a 12-year-old boy. It's not meant to be graphic. It's meant to be a self-help book to the path out of the darkness.
Right. And even in your TEDx talk, what was it, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it just launched on my birthday, September 13th.
Happy
so
birthday.
It was August, but it has to go through all the process of being approved by TED.
Yeah.
So,
but you talk about it there in your TEDx about how you figured out how to release that power, right? And not be the victim anymore and step into, your happiness and your life. Can you talk about that a little bit here?
Well, first of all, in my first book, I talk about the power of language and how we talk to ourselves and how we define ourselves. Yep. And the first thing is, I do not refer to the man that chose to abuse me as my abuser or my molester, because my connotates ownership. Yep. And he does not own me and I do not own him. I have released him to the process that we call forgiveness. Yep. And not that he gets to hang out with me or come over for Sunday dinner. There is a complete barrier there, because trust and forgiveness are very different. Yep. Right. Yep. But I do not own him, and releasing myself from that perpetual relationship by using language that says we own each other. I think that's one of the first steps. And the second step is that there were women around me that I used to clean house as a kid that I don't know if they knew or they were just inspired or felt prompted or what it was, but they would sit me down and they would tell me that their life was good and that things had happened. And that gave me this idea that I could have this great life. Crazy, right?
I love that.
So we need to put in front of people that they are more than the events of their lives. Yeah. And through therapy and my own self-work and implementing tools in my life, both spiritual tools and psychology tools and mental health tools and emotional tools, all those different things, and using those tools, I have been able to get to, by the time I was picking out my husband, I was in a great place. And I've been able to not have what happened to me for the first 14 years of my life to dictate the next 75 years
Right.
of my life.
Yes.
And giving people the concept and idea that no matter how bad it is, and no matter how violating it is, we as human beings have the capacity to overcome those things. I put the healing process, not ending at the survivor phase, but something beyond that. So there's the victim stage when the abuse is still happening or the abuser is still in the victim's head,
Yep.
to survivor when we are, processing and overcoming and going through the cycle of grief and moving beyond this event and working on it. And then after that, we become the advocate.
Yeah.
And the advocate is it's when you're there, when it's not something you think about all the time. It's not in you all the time.
Yeah.
It's logged back there. You have the wisdom of it, but you don't have the daily pain and agony of it.
Right.
And as an advocate, you're able to, because the definition of an advocate is somebody who's been there, overcome, and lifts others up.
Right.
And the more you do that, that goes deeper and deeper and deeper into your little soul, the little you, of healing places that you thought you were okay. And it just gets better and better and better to the point where you are so glad you have that wisdom, because you're able to be a defender.
Yeah.
You're able to protect, and you're able to recognize and see evil when it's happening and go in there and have the fire in your belly to put a stop to it.
Yeah. You know what I think is really interesting is you are probably one of the strongest women that I know. And it's not because life has, given you lemonade, right? It's because you've ended up with a lot of lemons and you've, turned it into lemonade or found a way to shine light on it.
I actually have a joke about this because, what if you get rotten lemons?
Right.
You can't make lemonade out of rotten lemons,
No.
but you know what rotten lemons are really good for?
What?
You can still clean your disposal with them, and they're still a good cleansing agent.
I love it.
Yeah, there is still a use for them.
That's so profound. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So what has been the most surprising reaction to your book so far?
I would say that the haters, the people who think I should not speak out, and the opposition in that sense.
That surprises me.
It was a surprise to me, and then it wasn't, because it was such a God thing. It happened so quickly, and I was like, whoa, never saw it coming. And honestly, if I had known all of the process, there might have been more fear. That was just like, I was just like holding on to this roller coaster going, right?
Yep.
And that it was such a God thing that of course there's going to be opposition in it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's just how these things work.
Right.
And that, of course, just makes me have more of a, well, I'll show you.
Well,
right?
yeah, and I think you've gone through the gauntlet so many times now that you were ready for this. You were ready to take this on, and and what's interesting is
It's not my first rodeo.
Right. The previous show, I had Tani Cullen on. I know I mentioned her to you. She wrote the book Josiah's Fire, right? And in that book, Josiah, her son, talks about these apple dares. And I think, and when we were talking about this, it was, the angels will give you these apples. Well, they kind of metaphorically, right? It's a challenge. If you want to accept it, more, you'll be given more, right?
Right.
But you can refuse it, and the angels will take it back up to heaven. And I just think that you've accepted so many apples that this is one of the bigger apples, and you've taken it on. And I do believe that when you take on something of this magnitude, the lives that change because of it is just, it gives me chills. It really does.
It's
I love
very
it.
Humbling. And, really the Christian phrase of the glory to God, because he set it all up.
Yeah.
I'm just doing as I'm directed and as I know that I have to do. And the best part is when my kids came home from school the day that I wrote the post, and I said, hey, how would you guys feel about mommy writing a book? And my daughter applauded.
Yep.
And now my daughter my daughter was 12 at the time, or just barely 12. Almost 13. And she has had 2 friends that have been had this violation happen to them.
Mm.
So she was aware of it, and she has seen me on the front line fighting for those friends.
Yeah.
And then my son, he kind of looks down and he looks at me. He goes, "Well, Mom, you just got to do what God says you got to do."
Mm.
And to me, I think that's the best reward as those of your listeners that are moms.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make your kids proud, it's like, ha, ha, ha,
Yeah.
ha,
Especially
right?
teenagers.
Yeah, and I'm just empowering them, and then I magnify that by thinking about all the
Oh.
children that I'm giving tools to,
Yep.
the tools that have taken me all these years of lots of work on myself, and that I've beta tested them with all my clients that have come to me and said, "I just can't get over it. I still see it in the dark of night."
Oh.
When I look in their eyes and
Yeah.
tell them what I've told them, and they've come back and said, "That's really helped me," to be able to put those modules and those lessons and those analogies in
Mm.
a book that a girl that I may never meet, a little boy that I may never meet, that I can impact them and I could help them to live a vibrant and amazing life.
I
There
love
aren't
that.
even words for that.
I know. You're pretty
Yeah.
incredible. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, stop. Stop.
So, okay,
We all have our thing we're called to do. And
right.
for good or for bad, this is
Yeah.
public. But
Well-
I do not minimize the contribution of the mother that has 4 or 5 kids, and she feels like nobody sees her.
Right.
You raise 5 contributing healthy adults, or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1
Yeah.
contributing adult to society. It's not a scale of value.
Right.
It's we all have a different purpose.
Yeah.
And as long as we're living to our purpose, to our best self, then we should feel like we're rocking life and feel really good about who we are.
Right.
We get caught up in comparisons and our waistlines and our purpose, and it's all poopy. Don't compare.
You said the P word.
Yeah, I did. And the shocking thing is, in my new book, Love Me Too,
Yep.
not one poopy.
Well,
I'm not even sure how I did that, but this goes beyond poopy.
yeah.
So we didn't want to drive poopy through
So
them.
let me ask you this. I haven't read your book yet. I know I'm signed up to be one of your beta readers, but I've been kind
My
of
book
busy.
ambassadors, yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of busy getting your site ready. I haven't really had time. But that being said, are there tips in there, or are there things that parents these days can look out for, to watch for?
Yeah.
What should we be watching for? What should we know about? Because as a parent, I don't know. What am I looking out for? What am I supposed to be talking to my kid about?
Actually have a whole workshop that I've put together. I'm really excited. I'm going to be launching it very soon, and I hope that I can take it online within the year. That's my hope. So that those resources are out there. I also have a children's book coming out for parents. But to answer your question, the first thing is we need to be very comfortable talking about our body. Nobody giggles and gets embarrassed when we say the word elbow.
Yep.
Nobody's like, oh, did you say elbow? Oh, I'm so uncomfortable right now. Right? Nobody says that. So there shouldn't be this embarrassment and shame when you say vagina or penis.
Right.
And you should not teach your kids that they should be embarrassed about that. If your kid is, going to the bathroom and like, Mom, my penis is stuck in my underwear. Oh, I hate it when that happens, son. Well, this is how you do it. Just deal. Just go forward, right?
Yep.
These are not dirty words. And teaching our children that they're dirty words makes them feel like that body part is dirty. And there's a difference between secret and shame and private. I made a very big deal about, look, I close the door when I pee because it's private, not because I'm ashamed of it. And when my son was peeing on the neighbor's tire, I explained to him that was, we don't put the fluids that come out of our body on people's things. We put them in the toilet, and it goes right in line with how you deal with, what do you do with your snot and all these different kinds of things. It's just part of potty training to not create body shame. And end with potty training. Right after that, we're teaching our children how to bathe their bodies.
Yep.
So I would delegate to my children, like cleaning their legs or their arms. And when they were really good at that, I'd be like, oh, you are so good at this. This is now your job to clean this.
Yep.
And then when they learned how to clean their bum and their front, their vagina or penis, depending on male or female, right? Yep. And I'm like, okay, now it's your job. And then I would slip this in. and no one else will touch that because now it's yours
Right.
and you're in charge of it.
Right.
And I will not be touching it anymore. Now, sometimes you might go to the doctor and mommy or daddy will be there,
Yeah.
right? And that might be checked, just like your elbow got tested, for when you got hurt, son, because he fell and hurt his elbow, so you can parallel it to something that's in their world.
Right.
That there are private, but not dirty or bad or shameful parts of our body.
I love that.
They're different. The next thing that I like to teach kids is to follow that feeling. And I talked about this in my TEDx talk, and I focus a lot on it in my book, about how to foster that feeling, that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You might call it, positive energy, or I call it the spirit. Whatever you call that, we all have that as human beings. And as we teach our children to nurture that and follow it, it's going to be more helpful than just protecting them, in the case of, being abused or,
Right.
Against a pedophile, but giving them responsibility for their body and the ability to say no to a hug. I did not teach my kids, okay, hug and make up, as though, giving of ourselves physically teaches appropriate boundaries.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
If you're not feeling like being touched, then you have the right to say, no, you can't touch me.
Yep.
And so you're teaching both body awareness, and then you're also teaching this boundary. And there are times that I'm grumpy and I don't want to be touched. And that's okay for me as a mommy or a kid to say, I need my space.
Yep.
Yeah. And then whenever the kid says, I feel like, whoa, focus in on that. What do you feel like?
Right.
Let's talk about your feelings, because you're helping to honor the voice that is growing inside of them that I believe comes from God. And if you don't believe in God, it's an energy, right?
Yeah.
It's something that is innate into who we are. We call it our gut feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell a story in my TEDx talk and in my book of where my daughter had that gut feeling go, no, at 2.5 years old. She did not want to be hugged. And how I explained to everybody that my daughter had the right to hug whom she wanted or didn't want to hug. That's her body. And if I just said, okay, hug the man that wants to hug you. We have such a focus on teaching our children about, don't say anything. You can't say something nice.
Yeah.
Truth is not often nice.
Yeah.
And mommy, the man touched my penis, or mommy, the man did this to me. Those are not nice words for a child to have to say.
Right.
If a child is being bullied on the playground saying, Susan was mean to Virginia, this isn't okay. Those are not nice things.
Right.
But don't we want to raise children that are defenders of truth above being kind?
Yeah.
Kindness should never be sacrificed for truth.
Right.
And that doesn't mean we say truth in a mean way, but truth should be said. And I rewarded my kids for truth above what I wanted to hear.
Right.
And then I'm also against stranger danger. 80 to 90%. I recite 80% because that was the most common source of what the studies show. But 80 to 90% of those that are molested by someone they know.
They know. Yep.
And we'll probably have to depend upon, sadly, if this is an uncle, a mom, or a dad, or an aunt, or something like that, the kindness of a stranger to get them to a safe place.
Right.
And obviously not all children are going to be taught this, but if we can be role modeling this and being aware of children that may not be having that in their home, we can protect them. We can get them out, because and teaching your children age appropriately, not scaring them, because information too soon is a form of molestation. But teaching them that their body is safe and that they should honor other people's bodies. Your children will give you clues as to what's happening to children around them. My daughter was 6 years old when she gave me information that eventually helped lead to a pedophile. Wow. She did not know what she was saying. She did not know what she'd been exposed to.
Wow.
I knew what this little girl was telling my daughter, but my daughter did not know until years later.
Wow. And I think it was was it this TEDx that you were talking about, or another speech that I was watching, and you were talking about grooming? Yeah. How pedophiles can groom. And I want you to talk about that, because I guess I don't really understand how that works. What is that?
Well, grooming is breaking down not only the child's boundaries of their body and, how easily can they be manipulated, But they also groom the parents. And my parents, this man that chose to molest me, he was came into my life when I was around 2.5 years old.
Okay.
And I know by 3.5 or so, he was touching parts of my body that he had no business touching. But he had already taught me to keep that secret and to keep that secret from my parents. I do not keep secrets, and I do not. One, it's good because no one tells me gossip because they know that I will say, do not tell me, right? So secrets of any kind that our children are seeing us keep in the form of gossip, or the
Yeah.
only good secrets will come out,
Yeah.
like surprise birthday parties,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it all of this character stuff, it all kind of plays into helping to teach our children to develop character of their own resilience and their own confidence in themselves. But I teach about this grooming concept because we are groomed, and there's a whole module, and I don't know how much time we have, but this whole module that I teach in the book of how to identify if somebody is violating your circles of intimacy. And
Oh, wow.
in the very center of that should just be you. And the sign of being any kind of abuse, not just sexual abuse, is that that person is in the middle of that bullseye with you, and they should not be. And I break it down into 3 different areas that you should be fostering in your children to help them recognize a safe friend. I mean, just from it may not ever, of course, you may not have a children are perpetrating on other children because they are being exposed to different things.
Yeah.
But even if it's just, picking good friends in their life that are
Yeah.
going to lift them up and build them up, right?
Right.
This
So
module will
important.
help them. And I strongly recommend to families to put the love, trust, and accountability module in the dialogue of their home, because it will protect your child from someone who is trying to break down their boundaries, manipulate them to maintain their secrets.
So where did they get the love trust module?
I call it the Circles of Intimacy, and it is in my book,
Okay.
which is on my website that is
Awesome.
now live because of the amazing Lisa.
So it's in the Me Too book?
It is in the Me Too
Okay,
book. Yeah.
awesome.
There's just tons and tons of resources and analogies that are different age appropriateness, from when your child comes home from school with information that you can't answer because it's too above their emotional level, but still keeping the conversation open,
Yep.
to conversations adults can have with other adults. There's
Yep.
all these different analogies that will
I
apply
love that.
to different age groups.
I love that. So how did you even get started writing all of this? I mean, I know it didn't even take you that long, actually.
The most crazy thing is when they're like, okay, you're going to write a book. And I'm saying no in my mind. Like, when I wrote my first book, I'm like, oh my heavens, the book will be 500 pages long. I have so much content, right? And then with this one being like, and then all these pieces coming that I'd already shared with different people. And I mean, the craziest thing was a few years ago, I had a young girl that her mother called me after hearing a speech on confidence that I had done, saying, you're supposed to coach my daughter. And I was like, well, I don't really have, at the time, I didn't have a coaching thing. Now I do, but at the time I didn't. And I was like, well, I don't. She goes, well, you're supposed to coach my daughter. And so I sat down and kind of worked with this girl and ended up really, really helping her. But, oh, there's that content. Oh, there's that content.
Yeah.
And it's almost mind boggling to me that I didn't realize this was coming, because I have all of these different pieces. It was like I had all these puzzle pieces in my life. I just didn't see how they all fit together.
Right.
And I didn't even think about it, because I had come together for myself, and I was honored that I could help other people, but I didn't realize how much I had.
That's amazing.
There. And I completely credit God with that,
That's
that
so
it was
cool.
just all there. And I'm a believer in keeping, when I have great content, as a speaker, I don't question myself, where am I going to use it? I just put it in my file.
Yep.
So it's a matter of going through my file and going, oh, this is for this book. This is for, literally I'm putting them in the file for, I'm going to write a book about my daughter that passed away, wholly different subject, for parenting and how to do that. Why was I thinking I would put the circles of intimacy in a book like about, the content doesn't even match up, but it was just all there. And it was just a matter of me pulling it out.
That is amazing. That is really amazing.
It's totally a God thing.
Yeah.
Completely.
So cool. All right. So we're running out of time. So,
What?
because Leta and I could go on for another hour or so, but
These
you
are
know,
two things.
we
Yes.
we have to keep these things short and sweet. So I thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much great information with us. Your book is ready
Yes.
for pre-order and it's on
Yep,
your
they can
site.
find it on my website, which I'm sure you'll share, but it's letagreen.com,
Yeah.
and it's also on Amazon. So
Yes. If you buy it from her site, she will sign copies. So if you pre-order on her site starting today, she'll sign the copies, correct?
yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Her book Hotness, you can buy the 2-for-1 on her site too. So you can pre-order
Well, it's
the
not a 2-for-1. It's just two at the same
two.
time
Yes.
as one. Yeah.
Well, it's all connected to PayPal, so you'll automatically pay.
So, yeah, not a 2-for-1. We didn't want to get anyone excited.
No, we don't.
You know?
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a 2-for-1. You have
We
to
don't
pay
want
for
to.
both books and the
Yeah.
shipping, and she'll send them out to you. But you know what? You are just an amazing lady. I'm honored to know you.
And
The
I do, Lisa. Thank
the
you for giving me the opportunity to share.
the exciting stuff. You're an abolitionist.
I
I'm an
am. Yes.
abolitionist, and
And
talk about it.
Operation Underground Railroad
Mhm.
is receiving some of the proceeds of this book, and I'm just thrilled that they accepted us to give them money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They're a great organization. We hope to have them on here on our show so you guys can learn more about them. But another really amazing organization. Leta Greene, you are a rock star. I love you. LetaGreene.com is her website. Go get her book.
and you should sit down when you look at my website, because you'll be so stunned with how amazing it is.
It's just so pretty. To everybody who got to hang out with us today, thank you for spending time with us on the Idea2Launch show. We really appreciate it. If you like this episode, hit the like, share button, share it with a friend. Thank you so much. Have a great day.